Hey, thanks for joining us here on 90s Plus. I'm Chris Bianchi here with 90s Sports reporter Scotty Gange. 90s Sports is Scotty Gange, your kind of primary Broncos guy, and we're going to talk some Denver Broncos.
Would you like to?
I would love to because, well, okay, I've mentioned this before. I'm a big Bronco fan. I was at the game on Sunday, and that, as the Broncos beat the Chiefs 24-9, that was, oh my goodness, that was the best win for me since the Broncos won the Super Bowl back in 2015.
It really was.
It was. I mean, they got off the schneid, what is it, 16 in a row? They've lost to the Chiefs going back to 2015.
2,946 days. Not that anyone was counting.
Yeah, look at you. You always have those stats. But, I mean, on a serious note, so the Broncos now, they entered their bye week, 3-5. They stood pat at the trade deadline, which we'll get into that coming up here. But first of all, how would you assess the Broncos here as they head into their bye week? They started 1-5, seemed like everything was out the window, but a little ray of hope now, right?
I was just going to say, the most powerful thing on planet Earth is hope, the belief of hope, and I think the Broncos have that now, right? Winning 2 games in a row. It's not like their win against the Packers was beautiful by any means. It was really an ugly game, but they found a way to win. Even the game against the Chiefs, like there was a lot of where it was like, okay, that wasn't amazing, but the defense was awesome. I mean, just think of 5 weeks ago, they gave up 70 points in Miami. And
they took a knee.
Huh?
And then they...
Yeah, they could have been 73 if they kicked the field goal, the all-time record. And now here they are keeping Patrick Mahomes to 3 field goals only. So it's been a remarkable turnaround for them. So I don't know. I mean, I like, not to jump ahead too early, but I like that they didn't make any moves at the deadline. I'm all for them saying, hey, let's go for it. Let's try to make a run. They're 3-5. Let's not say Super Bowl or anything, even though Javonte Williams on Monday in this little phoner said, oh yeah, the playoffs is just the base. I think we're going to make a Super Bowl run.
What?
Yeah, he said that. I don't think... Hey, you got to like confidence, right?
Yeah, okay. Well, here on planet Earth, I guess one of the questions I've got is, going back to the game on Sunday against the Chiefs, the Broncos did get the win, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Pat Mahomes reportedly had the flu. The Chiefs did not look good.
No.
What was it?
They
4 or
have
5
bigger issues, for one.
The Chiefs do? The
Yes.
Chiefs do?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think
So
the
maybe
Broncos
the-
exposed that actually in 2 games. 2 games?
Yeah.
Mahomes had 1 touchdown. The Chiefs had 1 touchdown in 8 quarters playing against the Broncos, who gave up 10 touchdowns in 4 quarters against the Dolphins, and gave up a ton to the Commanders and whatnot. They've obviously made changes and gotten stronger, but the Chiefs have bigger issues.
Would you say the Broncos win on Sunday was more the Broncos played well or the Chiefs?
The Broncos won. I mean, you get 5 turnovers. Of course, maybe the fumbled or muffed punch. But you know what? The Broncos made a great play to get the ball. Draymond Smith had an awesome hit. The Broncos won. It's kind of that classic question with Russell Westbrook back in the day where he's like, what? Did we win or they lose? The Broncos won the game. Chiefs helped them out a little bit. They made mistakes, but if you're a Bronco fan sitting at home, you can absolutely sit back and say, you know what? My team, for Bronco fans, won that game.
And they kicked the you-know-what out of them. That was the other thing. I felt that score
It's not
line
like they won 10-9. They won 24-9.
And that score line was, I mean, if they don't have a blocked field goal and then give up that stupid 56-yarder at the end of the half, I mean, that was honestly, like in terms of how it played out, I felt like that was like a 31-3 kind of win.
Yeah,
Almost.
It felt like it. I mean, it felt like the Chiefs' offense had nothing. I mean, they sacked him, I think, 6 times, Pat Mahomes. Russell Wilson didn't even play his best game, but he was still, 12 for 19, 114 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, it's not his best game that he's played all year, but they still were able to put up points consistently throughout the game.
And he had that, I kind of think about things that Russ did in that game that he didn't do last year. And I think about that key play. I think it was in the second quarter with that check down that he had, and then he had a 39-yard pass. I believe it was to Jerry Jeudy over the middle.
Yeah.
And that,
which was his by far longest pass of the game. Sean Payton's keeping him very close and mainly to his easy side of the field to throw to the left side. But still, he didn't make any mistakes. That's the big thing you have to think of with him. Maybe he missed a guy here and there, but didn't do any turnovers, didn't have any horrid plays, I don't think, personally.
I didn't think so either. So I kind of want to broaden things on out a little bit here. The Broncos do stand pat at the deadline. I'm not going to sports radio talk this, but I actually kind of disagree with what you said about them staying pat and that being a good thing.
Oh, yes.
Here's my worry.
Yin and yang. You need it.
I know, but here's my concern about that. You're 3-5, get this glimmer of hope. You've got players that could have apparently netted, Jeudy, Sutton, that could have netted you draft picks. You're 3-5. They only have 6 picks next year. They've been depleted in recent years because of the Russell Wilson and Sean Payton trades. Don't they need those picks to rebuild?
They absolutely do. They do. I mean, but you also have to think, how great offers did they get?
Do we know?
We don't really know. I mean, from talking with Mike Kless before the game, he's like, yeah, I don't know if they're getting that many amazing offers. Of course, Judy and Sutton played well, so maybe that might have gotten them a little better. But if you're the Washington Commanders and you trade Chase Young for, I think it was a third, fourth round pick, a former second overall guy to the Niners, if they trade Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton for a fourth rounder, how happy would you be as a Bronco fan?
Fourth rounder, yeah. If they turn down a second or third, though, to me, that would be a high round draft pick. Then I'd be frustrated. That's how I would feel.
Yeah, but I like that they're not trading their guys. I mean, of course, if they got a first, second, or third round offer, then it's different. But just the overall idea of it, of hey, we're going to go for it. We're going to try to make this playoff run. We are, as the Broncos, 3-5. They're not 5-3. They're not 6-2. But they're 3-5, and they've won 2 in a row. So they had a little bit of confidence behind them. You beat the Bills, then you're really talking. You're 4-5, and you got to think, hey, teams can make the playoffs realistically at 9-8. They have some easy cake games coming up. They're going to play the Vikings on Monday Night Football, who just got their new quarterback in Joshua Dobbs, because Kirk Cousins tore his Achilles, and Justin Jefferson is still out. They have the Patriots, who look like the worst team in the history of football right now on Christmas Eve. So I think I don't know. They've got
Chargers don't look that good. Raiders just fired.
Broncos always win a game against the Chargers. The Raiders fired their head coach. And Jimmy Garoppolo just got benched, and Devontae Adams wants out, so he's not going to be out, but he's not going to play very well this season, I don't think. I don't know. I feel good about it. I'm not going to be the guy saying, oh, yay, cheerleader, reporter, go Broncos all the time.
Yeah, you're not.
But I do feel good about at least the chance they have. If you asked me 2 weeks ago, I'd say, oh, my God, sell everybody right now. But they've proven a little bit in those wins and their growth throughout the last month.
Okay, so what happened specifically on the defensive side of the ball? Because you mentioned 2-3 weeks ago, people were asking for Vance Joseph to get fired, and it seems he's really turned things around.
You didn't think he'd ever come back from Miami, huh?
70 points. I will say this: I was on my honeymoon for that game.
Yeah.
We were in Cyprus, and I dragged my poor wife. Beautiful.
I was in Miami for that game. It was beautiful.
Hey, we were both in tropical places. I say that to say because I dragged my poor wife in the middle of the night on our honeymoon to go watch the Bronco game, and we obviously left at halftime. I was like, oh my goodness, but my wife was like, why? What are we doing here?
You witness history, but I will say, and it's kind of been the talking point. We talk with Alex Singleton and Josie Jewell so much throughout the week after practice in the locker room, and something that Alex said a few weeks ago, which kind of stuck with me. He goes, yeah, we just made it all easier. Like Vance Joseph, even at the beginning of the year, and talking with Josie Jewell, he said it's so simple in what we do and terminology and stuff, and he's working with us and this and that. I think it just took a little bit of time. And maybe that 70 points was a wake-up call, like, okay, we're trying these things to make it easy for all of us. Let's simplify it even more. So it's just, I think they went back to saying, we have good players, we're a good personnel, let's simplify it. Let's not get too cute here on defense and try to make things so difficult for us. And so it's a lot of terminology. It's a lot of, okay, we are not going to try to be the smartest defense in the history of time. We're just going to play football. And I think, I'm never going to try to pretend I know more than an NFL player or defensive coordinator. But from just hearing that over them, consistently from them, and it seems like it too. They're not pulling too many stunts. They're getting cute every now and again. If Baron Browning, who was a huge addition, by the way, will come off the edge and stunt and do a blitz. But I don't know. I think they just made it easier on themselves, which has made it easier on everybody.
Interesting. So simplify. You mentioned it's
simplify the play
terminology,
call, simplify
right?
the defensive strategy. Yeah, and go more to old school football and say, okay, these guys, offenses are so difficult now and strategic. I think they just decided, okay, we're going to play a little more zone and be easier with it. And Pat Surtain has that side of the field, and that's okay. And we have good guys that can rush. We don't need to do this and that and that and that. Let's just play defense. And
yeah, Baron Browning, Jonathan Cooper, a couple of really good
they've been
players.
Fun.
They've been fun as well. I guess when it
and personnel too, I will say that. A guy like Jaquan McMillan is now in for Isang Bassi. Isang wasn't working out. They bring in McMillan as the nickel back. I don't want to get too specifically, defense-wise here, but like Jaquan McMillan came in, he played near every snap against the Chiefs. And it really helped things out because with him coming on, they can play in different zones. So think of it that way. You get a nice pick, and Isang Bassi, they were all moving. So think of it, the defense went from here to here to make it as simple as possible for everybody.
That's a good explanation. I also don't really get a lot of that. Talk to me about Sean Payton, because it seemed like he was flustered. the first few games.
Yeah.
He didn't seem particularly happy. Even after the Packers win, he had the whole thing about the sushi restaurant, and that he didn't seem too thrilled after that.
He can't be happy anywhere. He's the grumpiest coach in the NFL.
But he seemed happy after the Chiefs game, didn't he?
He seemed happier for sure. I mean, how could he not be? He beat the Chiefs for the first time in 16 games, even though it's not his hump.
True.
It just seems like, remarkably, I'm surprised, they're rallying around the guy. They see the hope in him, saying, okay, he's turning us into something. You talk to him, it was a big joke. He's saying, well, we don't care that we were about to lose 4 straight home games. We don't care that we lose all these games to the Chiefs. And it's like, okay, I think they do. And you talk to Justin Simmons in the locker room, he goes, no, we weren't worried about that. And Jerry Jeudy, man, we came in here thinking we were going to win. And it just seems like they're hearing him, which maybe they didn't a month ago. Maybe they were push-offy. I mean, it's easy to say that they were losing and frustrated. But they do feel like a team united.
Okay. You mentioned you kind of looked ahead the next few games. The Broncos come out of the bye. First of all, injury-wise, where do they stand? Are there any key players that are close to coming back? And how are they overall on the injury front?
I think they're fine.
Halfway through the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest injury coming back was Javonte Williams. And, even in training camp, I feel good, I'm 100%. Like, no, you're not, dude. I mean, like, you're not 100% just like how the Broncos aren't a favorite to win the Super Bowl like he thinks. But he was himself. I mean, oh my gosh, how much did he run for? He has 27 carries for 87 strong yards, just 3 yards, 4 yards, 3 yards, 5, 6. Just a strong runner. So he really looks good. On the injury front, they're just fine.
Okay. So that's good news that they're fine on the injury front, because the last few years that's been a major problem for the Broncos, decimated at the start of the year. Look ahead here, and maybe not necessarily picking games by games, but you mentioned that there are some cupcakes in there. How do you look at the schedule overall, and does that make you, as somebody who covers the Broncos, I don't know about optimistic, but realistic about the fact that maybe there is a real chance for the playoffs?
I'm optimistic. I'm not realistic. I'll say
I'll
steal that from you. Yeah, optimistic because optimism in life is a special thing. I feel good about it. Yeah, kind of like what I said. I mean, they have some easy games. I wish I had the schedule right in front of me right now, but there's several games on the calendar where you can circle and say, I think they can get that. The Texans are not a good football team. C.J. Stroud looks strong, but they just lost to the 0-5 Panthers this past Sunday. The New England Patriots are not good. The Vikings are absolutely down bad.
3. They got 9 games left.
The Bills are just like the Chiefs right now. They're supposed to be one of the best teams in the league, and their quarterback won't stop throwing interceptions. They're struggling. They're losing to bad teams. And it's a maybe, hey, if the Broncos can play like they played against the Chiefs, of course playing in Buffalo is really, really hard.
Is it a game that looked like it was basically a write-off at the start of the season now? So maybe they got a shot.
Yeah, so the Bills game is on Monday night. The Vikings is Sunday night. That Bills game, it's like, oh my God, they're going to get beat by 70 points again on Monday Night Football up in Buffalo, and it's going to be cold. I don't know. I feel okay about it. I'm not going to say, whoa, they're going to beat them. If they lose, they're 3-6. It's a whole other conversation. They win, they're 4-5. Okay, here we go. They
4-5.
Beat the Chiefs and the Bills, and they're 4-5, and they're rolling. And they have games against the Chargers. Broncos always get at least a game against the Chargers. They've got another game against the Raiders, who are not very good at the end of the season. The Raiders are going to be out of the playoff picture, I think, at the last game of the season. Maybe the Broncos are fighting for that one more win to maybe get in the playoffs against a Raiders team that says, screw it. We're done. Our coach is whatever, and our quarterback is gone. Our receiver's mad. That could be here's a W for you.
Okay. So basically, I mean, if they beat the Bills here, you're 4-5 as you mentioned.
Yeah, they don't have a whole other conversation if they beat the Bills.
And their final 8 games, you mentioned those games, 6 of those final 8 games. Chargers, home and away. Raiders here. Patriots here.
Yep.
Vikings here. And Texans there.
Yeah.
Right. So
they're playing up in Detroit. That'll be a hard game.
That'll be a hard game. That's December 17th. Yeah. So you got... But anyways, if you get that win against the Bills, it's just not possible. I guess. But I don't know. It's crazy to think.
It's crazy to think that we're actually having this conversation, right? When they were 0-3 or 1-5, it was okay. Trade the guys. Hey, maybe they'll get Caleb Williams if they get the number 1 overall pick. Maybe, right? If they keep losing. Let's root for the Bears to win and the Panthers to win. I don't want to be the guy that goes on record and just because the Broncos have won 2 games in a row that says, oh, they're going to do it, get ready for the parade. But I'm saying it's not a crazy thing for Bronco fans at home to at least have some hope and have some optimism and say, man, if we can beat the Bills, I don't know.
Yeah. So any final thoughts about what we've seen from the first half of the season? Any big things we missed out on?
I really think the defense has grown a ton. Bronco fans love to hate on Russ. I've liked Russ all year. He obviously is not perfect, but he's strong. He's better statistically than Patrick Mahomes. He's got the 4th best passer rating. You know what passer rating means? It's an analytic to determine success. And he has the 4th best in the entire NFL. That's a really good thing.
He's really limited his turnovers.
Yeah, and so he's doing well. I honestly think this bye week comes at the worst time possible for him.
Because they're hot.
They're hot. They just beat the Chiefs. For the first time in 8 years. Do you want the Broncos to have a week off after beating the Chiefs for the first time in 8 years? I don't think so. I think Bronco fans would have loved for them to just keep playing. They're rolling right now. So, if you're a Bronco fan, you might think hopefully this bye doesn't, hurt them, and maybe it's, hey, they beat the Chiefs, they're rolling, they can take some time off, have a Halloween party like they did, do all that fun. But yeah, if I can leave everybody with one thing, it's at least you can be optimistic.
Yeah.
Not realistic about it, but optimistic about it.
They're not 2-6, they're not 1-7 like you thought they might be a few weeks ago, and I don't know, they look better too.
They look better.
You always look good, Scotty.
Hey, you look better.
Stop. 9 News Sports is Scotty Gange. He's our Broncos. Mike Kliss, our Broncos insider. You're our kind of main Broncos reporter here, so we appreciate a few minutes of your time.
Yeah.
Thanks for lending us your expertise.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Scotty.